Hi, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a roundup of some of my most versatile foundations in my collection. There are so many foundation launches happening right now that I just thought it would be kind of like a refresher to go over some formulas that I personally own that I feel are super versatile. And these aren't foundations that I would necessarily consider in my top favorite category. They are truly ones that I think you can do a lot with, that you can manipulate, that you can wear for all occasions. So basically just some really good all-around universal foundation formulas. There are not really any new foundation releases in this category. I think you have to earn your spot. You have to be here for a while to make it into this category. So if you don't see your new favorite formula in here, that's probably why. But yeah, we're just gonna run through. I'm gonna show you some like little swatch demos of how these foundations look on my skin and explain why I think any of them would be good universal options. And when I say also universal, I'm talking about all skin types. Now, some of these might sway one particular skin type to the other, and I will kind of clarify that and go into details on which ones work best for combination, oily, normal, dry, etc. I'm going to start out with my unsuspecting contenders because I want to throw some of you all for a loop. And I feel like it's been a while since I've just sat down and kind of talked about all of the different foundations I've been using and trying, not just within the past month, but within probably like the past year and a half. It's been very hard to keep up. This is one I know I've not been able to give enough credit to here on my channel. Now over on my TikTok, I did praise this heavily when it released. I purchased it immediately because it just sounded like it was going to be good, and it truly is. It's a very innovative and unique formula. It's starting to spark some popularity. I've noticed that it's sold out a couple times and a lot of people seem to be catching on over on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm glad this is finally receiving a little bit more love because I thought it would be more popular when it launched, but it is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Balm. So this, of course, kind of looks like the really popular e.l.f. Putty Primer, the Tatcha Silky Primer, Canvas Smooth Primer that kind of comes in this like solidified disc, except this is an actual foundation. It is an actual complexion product. And when I purchased this, it really reminded me of using that Tatcha Primer back in the day. It has that silky, velvety, smooth texture to it. And immediately I kind of thought like, okay, this is probably going to appeal to the combo oily skin fam more than it would the dry. But I'm going to link the TikTok down below where I first reviewed this, and I did a wear test throughout the day. And I was shocked at not only how this just like morphed into my skin, it just almost like went with the flow of my skin, but it lasted on my skin really well, and I still feel like it holds up despite just being so thin and flexible. I think if you're looking for something that feels ultra lightweight on the skin, but that you can kind of throw around in a sense of using it for daily wear, using it for special occasions, using it for just quick little touch-ups, that's another thing. I feel like I can layer this throughout the day and it does not look cakey on me. It really does fit into that transformative category where I just feel like it looks good no matter how I use it. This is definitely a top contender you're gonna see me using more of in videos because this is my winter color. This is another reason why I've not been able to wear it. I have been trying not to just repurchase foundations in multiple colors to fit the seasons. I've been trying to use what I have, and this is shade number 1, and it fits me best once I've lost all of my tan. Westman Atelier Vital Foundation Stick. This is just a beautiful skin loving foundation. And what I mean by skin loving is when you put it on, it just looks like fresh, beautiful skin. It has nice buildable coverage. I feel like I can go from anywhere to a light to a medium coverage with this formula. It truly does feel luxurious, and I would expect that at the price point, you know, that you pay for Westman Atelier. It's definitely a more luxury, high-end priced brand, but I do think their packaging and their formulas reflect that. I think this formula could work for a lot of different skin types, but in particular, I would put it in with the mature to dry skin category. I think that's where it elevates, where it shows off best. If you are in the oily category, I think if you primed really well with this, you would not have an issue, but just think youthful, beautiful, natural glow. There's not anything over the top in the sense of this being like an ultra glowy or ultra matte. It just has a really beautiful natural finish and just this slight bit of glow. This is truly, still to this day in my opinion, one of the most beautiful foundation formulas to have hit the scene in years. I'm talking probably ever since I started wearing makeup, which, I mean, obviously I was no beauty expert when I was 15, but let's just say when I was 18 and I started working for Bare Minerals, and I have been reviewing makeup for 10 years now. So, you know, stuff can just end up being like run of the mill, especially with all of the launches. But this is truly a beautiful, just revolutionary formula, and it's Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin. Most of you know my love for this foundation. It is a truly one-stop shop, so completely seamless on the skin. It just, there's never been a time when I've worn this and I've not been happy with how my skin looked. Sometimes I actually wear this as concealer. I do have number 10, the one I'm trying to use up before winter hits. This is number 7. It's what I wear in the wintertime. But I've been using number 10 as a concealer on days when I've been trying to use up my L'Oreal Tinted Balm. So it doesn't really provide a ton of coverage, and that's where I've been going in with my Lisa Eldridge foundation to kind of use it up as well and use it as like a spot concealer. It looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal applied in a traditional sense all over. It looks phenomenal if you just target apply with it. Something about it is just incredibly youthful, thin, flexible. It's almost like it moves with your smile lines, which another thing that is just revolutionary in my opinion. Nobody likes when foundation looks ultra creasy and gets into the smile lines. So this formula is just, yeah, if I could describe it, youthful, flexible, and obviously versatile. I mean, it's in this category where you can go from a spot sheer application with it to, I mean, pretty much like you could definitely get a full coverage out of this if you layered it up. I think it takes away from the beauty of the foundation if you wear it that way. But I know everyone has different preferences, different needs. So obviously I would understand if someone wore it that way, but I think just like a couple pumps of this all over, blended out with brush, fingers. It does the least best in my opinion with a sponge, but if you're a sponge person, totally fine as well. I would probably go out on a limb if someone gave me the ultimatum to use like 3 foundations, only 3 foundations for the rest of my life. This would definitely be in that category. Kosas Revealer. So this, when it first launched, it threw me for a loop. I could not figure out how I felt about this foundation when it first launched. And I'm pleased to say that I have really come around to it, and I've really come to understand who it benefits and what the finish truly is on it, how I like wearing it best. So I will go ahead and say, I think the Kosas Revealer works best with dry skin. It is pretty glowy. It's a pretty glowy foundation, especially if you don't set it, at least in my experience. Just in general with Kosas, I find that I gravitate towards this brand when my skin is having really bad eczema flare-ups. I don't know if you remember back when I was pregnant, I did a tutorial on, you know, makeup I was using for my sensitive perioral dermatitis, and the Kosas, not this foundation, it had not been released yet, but the Kosas tinted face oil was something that I loved using because I just always feel like the ingredients feel really, I don't know, like almost relaxing to my skin. So this is something that feels ultra moisturizing, really rich, almost has that skincare vibe to it. It is going to give you a pretty definite glow. That's one thing that I do feel like when I use this foundation, I have to set it with something because it's a little too glowy in my opinion on its own. However, decent coverage with this. You're gonna get medium, in my opinion, medium, almost medium full coverage, and paired with that Kosas concealer, the Revealer concealer, like totally, you can get absolute full coverage with this. Again, not the way I like to use it. I find that almost just one pump of this for all over my skin is what what works best for me. But I like this because anytime I'm feeling just really dry, dehydrated skin, right now my skin is flared up so bad. I don't know what I used on it, but it is just mad at me. And this is something that immediately, like, I'm going to put on my counter. I know I can use because I'm not going to feel irritated, almost have relief when I wear something like this. So I would say sensitive skin, dry, if you are eczema prone and you're just looking for something reviving, this is a really good option. Again, you can go from anywhere between a light to almost full coverage with this formula. This option is a little bit more in the lighter coverage category, but when I think of something that just gives me that expensive look and feels good, this is one of my foundations that comes to mind, and it's the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Tint. Now, I also have the Shiseido Synchro Skin Foundation, which is definitely a medium to medium full coverage. I think that one is beautiful, but you truly do have to love a medium to medium full coverage to own that formula. So this is obviously my preference because it is a light to light medium coverage. However, the reason I think it's so versatile is it's almost like the Danessa Myricks, where you're not getting obviously like even a medium coverage with the formula of either one of these products, but somehow they morph with whatever you apply on top, and it can be transformed into almost like just you're wearing a full face of makeup. Both the Synchro Skin Foundation and the Tint, I think would work perfectly well for all skin types. Very natural finish. This is not something that's going to give you an ultimate glow. It's not something that's going to be really flat. It's just somewhere in between. So for that reason, I'm going to say it's going to work for a lot of different skin types. I also find that the longevity is really good on this for a skin tint. Generally, you know, with a tint, you'll get a little bit less of a wear because there's less pigment in it. But I found that this one holds up really well. It also has an SPF 20 in it. Yeah, I really like Shiseido, and their complexion products are almost always phenomenal. Very underrated brand for complexion. But this one right here, I think is going to appeal to really any skin type, but especially if you like something that's just fresh, natural, daily wear, but that you could also bump up with a bit of concealer and then adding, you know, like your full face products like your blush, bronzer, etc. We are about to get into some oldies but goodies, definitely some names you're going to recognize. I tried to save those for last, so you know, you wouldn't be trying to like guess every single thing that I was about to talk about, but I want to kind of veer into a couple of drugstore options. Now, I will admit my drugstore foundation collection has kind of withered down. I did a clean out recently, and I only have, and I know some of you are thinking like, okay, that's a lot, but I probably only have like 6 or 7 drugstore foundations right now, which is low for someone who reviews makeup. But I have been trying to be a little bit more mindful about my purchases. You know, I'm doing a project pan and that kind of thing. But this is one that immediately I grabbed, and I knew just I had to put it in this category. I think personally it's a wonderful dupe for a higher end foundation that I love as well, and it is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation. So this definitely, I've always said, is very similar to Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Foundation. Now, you definitely get more coverage with the Flower Beauty formula. So this is a pretty thin formula. It gives a healthy glow to the skin, nothing overwhelming. It's not as glowy, in my opinion, as the Kosas is, but it definitely is like a bumped up, elevated version of a standard foundation. I guess I would say like a moderate glow to the skin. This is something that has a solid medium coverage to it. I think if you are in the normal to dry category, it's going to benefit you the best. I love Flower Beauty products. This is definitely a top-notch foundation for the drugstore. It photographs well. I just feel like it has that overall essence of what a lot of people are looking for in a foundation, and that can generally be hard to find at the drugstore. If you're a medium coverage, daily medium coverage person, this is going to be for you. If you want something to have on hand for days when you need extra coverage, this one's going to be for you. It just has a lot of possibilities. L'Oreal Age Perfect Serum Foundation. I just talked about this in my affordable minimalist starter kit video, and I gave this as probably the best option for someone that just wants a foundation in their collection that can do most things. I definitely think this falls into that category. You have decent amount of coverage, medium coverage. I personally think it could be built up to a fuller coverage if you needed it to add a second layer. It's very buildable. I'm going to put this in the same category as the Light Illusion and say it just feels expensive when you use it, but at a drugstore price point. So L'Oreal, I think, does a really good job with that. And I don't know if that's because they own a lot of high-end brands, but this is definitely one that I think they hit the market on, because it is marketed in the Age Perfect line. And I would say target audience here is going to be the more mature skin. If you do have, really this one is going to fit all skin types. I feel like the finish on it is universal, versatile in general, but something about it does give that like youthful vibe when I use it. So if you do have mature skin and you're just looking for something in your collection that you could easily throw on for a quick fresh face or build up for a little bit more, this is a great one to have. Okay, 2 foundations left, and these are my broken record foundations. I feel like I couldn't do this video without mentioning them. First up, we have the queen herself, Armani Luminous Silk. This is the standard for foundation, in my opinion. I think Lisa Eldridge and Luminous Silk foundations are the standard. I think that they are the highest right now. Nothing that I've tried has beat the level of impressiveness that both of those have had on me. Luminous Silk, obviously a long time contender, obviously been in the game for a long time, and it's one that took me a while to catch on to, but it is the ultimate universal foundation. It is thin, it is flexible, it is universal in the coverage arena. It just has everything that people look for in a foundation. I guess I can't put everyone in the same category, but I feel like what most people look for in a foundation, in the sense of coverage, in the sense of the finish on it, the way it just looks so beautiful and effortless on the skin. If you've never tried Luminous Silk, expect a very thin, almost, I wouldn't say watery, but it is on the thinner side, and it blends into the skin so seamlessly because of that thin texture. However, it does have a good amount of pigment to it, so you can get some decent coverage with this formula. I think the Luminous Silk Concealer is also phenomenal alongside this. They obviously pair very well together, but I use Luminous Silk Concealer with other products and it always looks so great. So it's just a top-notch formula that, I don't know, it's really stood the test of time because it has been out for a very long time, and it's just beautiful. It's a classic. It's a classic that I feel like everyone should at least try once, just to say that you did. If it wasn't for you, I would want you to explain to me why. But again, I understand. Like, there was a time when I tried this and I could not find my right match in it, and it never meshed with my skin because of that. But when I found my perfect match, I was like, oh my God. A light bulb went off and I just saw why it was so amazing. I bet y'all thought that I had dumped this lady right here, and the truth is that no, I haven't. It will always remain in my collection because it is that classic for me. And it is still very much a relevant foundation, despite if it's, you know, been kind of swept under the rug the past couple years. But MAC Face and Body. There was a big dilemma on whether the new packaging and new colors meant that it was reformulated. I was told that it was not reformulated. However, I know some of you swear it is not the same as your old formulas, which I could see that, especially if you are using a newer shade, because they did add new shades to this lineup. The shades are not completely the same. However, they do have some that are the same colors, but they've added on. And I could see where if you didn't have the same colors before and you had to go in and completely remake shades and add new shades, I could see where the formula could possibly have changed a little bit, because you're just making something totally new out of something that wasn't there before. But for me, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. So I'll link my old school MAC Face and Body video down below. It's so cringe to me to go back and watch. And I mean, if you want to have a good time, just go back and watch it, because I think I had just gotten my braces put on. Actually, I don't even know if I had my braces in that video. I think I did, because I talked really strange. I had like a palatal expander, if we remember those days. Fun times in my life. Where I had a lisp for like 4 months straight, because I had metal on the roof of my mouth. So yeah, I feel like that was around that time frame. But I will link my old school MAC Face and Body review down below. It was one of the more popular videos on my channel at the time, because I think MAC Face and Body was a really misunderstood foundation. A lot of people didn't understand how to use it. I had been using this foundation for nearly 10 years, back when I did full-time freelance artistry. I actually still, so I stopped doing, I only did freelance for one particular person. This is a photographer that is a close friend of mine. And I was only doing that up until I got pregnant, and I actually stopped for the past 2 years, and they've needed a stand-in artist for a couple of sessions, and I've come in, and you know what? I didn't switch it up. I immediately just got my new bottles of Face and Body and was like, we're going to keep it old school. We are going to stick with a classic, because it's what I know and love. It is what I think looks so gorgeous on a lot of their clients, because they are younger clients, and I don't want something that's going to mask the skin. So yeah, this is a waterproof formula. Another reason why I always loved using this, because for very hot days, for days when you need it to last, it really does have some sort of magic in it where it grips very well to the skin. It's layerable. You can layer this up to a medium coverage, very thin, fluid-like, and personally, I think it works for all skin types. So yeah, I could not omit the classic here, Face and Body. It definitely still deserves a spot. Okay, I think that's it. I just did a foundation clean out, and these were ones that just peaked to the top. They were, you know, I saw them and I just like started thinking in my head, yeah, these are like my really good universal versatile foundations. And I was like, ding, let's do a video on that. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of these foundations in action, and kind of like my explanation as to why I think they are versatile and universal for a lot of different people and a lot of different occasions. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to do this because I have been so overwhelmed with all of the foundations that have been released, and I just thought it would be fun to step back and chat about some formulas that I already own and that I know a lot of you probably already own as well. And if you don't, and you are in this sea of all these new foundation launches and you need some recs, maybe this helped. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions for me, leave them down below, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.